Is a guy with the bow tie checking in with you live for another edition of Business with Benefits. We was having some technical difficulties, so sorry for that, but we are here now live on the internet. To my right, you will have the wonderful Queen Tandra Price. How you doing, Queen?
Hello, hello, hello.
Thanks for being here. I want to give a shout out to hashtag Team Live, hashtag Team Replay, however you consume the content. We appreciate it. The sponsor StreamYard was having an issue with LinkedIn today, but we were on YouTube. That is working fine. So for our YouTube family, thank you. And for our LinkedIn family, you'll join us as soon as you realize what happened. But Tandra and I met through LinkedIn. We're seeing her networking and talking about all things networking. So for the people that don't know who you are, please let them know who you are and your gift for the world.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Tandra Price, and I am known as the Networking Ninja. I am a network strategist, and I help entrepreneurs like yourself implement networking strategies to grow their network base, to build networking communities, and to cultivate relationships to make their business profitable. That is me, your Networking Ninja, and I'm so happy to be here.
You had that very succinctly said. I like it. So what is, I like the title Networking Ninja, and obviously branding is important when you're networking. So where did that come from, and what does it mean to be a networking ninja?
You know what? I actually inherited that from one of my clients because, they said, oh my God, Tandra. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They said, oh my God, Tandra, you are aggressively and strategically and proactively getting us some resources and tips for our business. So, that was my name, Networking Ninja. So I just took it on the hat and kept going.
Awesome. So obviously we're in a different age right now, and I know you're talking vehemently about networking virtually.
Yeah.
A lot of us are used to going to networking events and shaking hands and getting coffee and all that kind of stuff. Not really a thing so much depending on where you live. I'm in Georgia. Some people still do that, but a lot of people don't. So talk about networking in the virtual space, because it's kind of different but kind of the same. So what is the same in networking virtually versus in person?
Well, networking virtually, I think we can still do the same thing. Networking in person and virtually, we can still shake hands and close business deals. I mean, I feel like with virtually, we have such an amazing expansion to do it with. I mean, we have people right at our fingertips. To me, everyone should be on virtual space right now, especially with everything that happened, that your business should be booming, because right now there are so many people actually on the internet all day long, just on there, just surfing. And really, you know what? I think the other day I read that there was like 500,000 people making comments on all of our network social media platforms, anywhere between 10 to 6 minutes a day. So can you imagine how many people that you have to really network with? Now, the key to it is having the right message. But right. You know what? You have a wealth of people to be connecting with.
That's interesting. I don't know that many people. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's helpful to know that, though. Well, that's the thing. When I first started using LinkedIn years ago, like in the insurance space, a lot of people use social media. So at first it was kind of like, what are you doing posting on LinkedIn? You only got one like on that, and it was like kind of like a joke for people. But this is probably 17 to 18. But I kept thinking, well, people are online, so it's another place to get your market seen. So are there certain industries you say better profit from online marketing and networking, or is it kind of every network or every business should be doing it?
I think every business should be doing it. I mean, right now it's so critical right now. I mean, even here's the thing with what I love about the virtual spaces, because if you could do business anywhere in the world, I mean, it is unlimited. And I mean, just like I said, the statistics of what came out to be like, if you can network, if that many people's right now on the internet, I mean, why are we not talking and building our business? I mean, why not? So I think it's for any industry, to be frankly, to come out and be on the social internet.
So I want to break down something that's kind of, I think, taboo for people. When you think about networking, you usually think the extrovert. Usually think it's the person that's life of the party, talks to everybody, always wants to shake hands and have a beer afterwards, stuff like that. Would you say that's commonly in your coaching that you see is the networking person, or is it usually you're seeing introverts that do better at it, basically?
You know what? I'm seeing introverts do better at, especially with virtually, because, here's the thing about it is they don't have to get dressed up. They don't have to go any place. I mean, they're really limited on what they are saying, so they don't really have to get that interactive with everything. But here is the key thing, though. I think when it comes to the virtual space and networking, that first of all, one, we should all be showing our faces, because people do business with people who they can see, first of all, okay? Mm-hmm. Two, you don't have to be the life of the party, but I think, guess what? Speak up so people can know who you are. I mean, that's how we're starting to build those relationships, when we speak up and people know who we are in the room. But I also think that too, that, you have a way of right now immediately connecting with that person right then and there. Instead of, you go to an in-person networking event, of course you need to have your response ready for them to send out once you're finished. But right there, once the thing is over with, you can just click on the button and say, hey, you know what, let's have a coffee chat, or let's jump on the live real quick.
Yeah, this is why I know there's different ways to network online. I think about Zoom networking. Zoom networking has a place. It's just different because you would leave a networking event in the past and have a stack of cards. Usually, a stack of cards you got to go through. Versus now, it's a stack of screenshots or copying down their whatever they put in their Zoom. And I kind of prefer, like, I still have business cards probably now in my other room that I just haven't gone through. Versus with this method, somebody can see your face and say, "Hey, I like what you're saying. Go to her LinkedIn or YouTube, whatever." So,
Absolutely.
have you seen your business increase with this virtual networking versus the in person?
Oh, absolutely. So before the pandemic happened, I was doing a lot of virtual space, but I was doing a lot of traveling too, because I've actually created about 8 communities. But now, I mean, it has really blown. I mean, we have now people, like today we had a lady from Dubai had a lady from the Philippines on our group. So I mean, the expansion of the reach is so much wider now. So instead of me having to get in and do all that traveling like I used to, I mean, just a click of a button, like you said, LinkedIn is my favorite, because that's really where, my ideal audience hangs out. So it's just much easier to connect, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I heard you mention something that was key. You said you created 8 communities. So people see influencers and all that stuff and think like, "Ooh, I want to have a bunch of followers and everything." But what does it mean to you as a business model? What is creating a community?
So what I do is I create and I'm sorry, it's ladies only community. I'm working on a community. But what I did prior to that is that when this concept came out of me wanting to really kind of change the networking space, I started creating community. So again, I was traveling to like California, Texas, and all these different areas, and I would create communities where ladies needed the same thing, that they needed some network strategies, they needed help, they needed to get a sisterhood community together. They were looking for that feed. So I went around and started creating these communities. There are more than maybe like 1,000 or so in each of the communities in all these different areas. My goal is to make sure that we make this thing go globally, and be able to connect internationally with some of these groups, so we can all come together, collaboratively come together, and help each other win in our business.
So let's break that out, because I mean, creating community sounds like high level. What is actually the real ground level thing? What is creating a community for somebody that's thinking, I want to monetize my network, I want to have more come out of it? What's the baseline for that?
So the baseline to it is you would create a community of ladies of your like vision that are, see your vision and purpose. So within that community, it's like, we're building our sales funnels. Where do we send people that once we actually go and network with them, how do we continue the conversation going? So we send them to a community, which is an online Facebook community. That's what I mean by building communities. So as these communities are being built, no matter where I'm networking in, or what, area of the universe I'm in, I can always have them go to somewhere to be able to connect with another lady in that community.
Okay.
Kind of follow me? So,
yeah, it makes sense, because I worry about, we all see this. I just did a poll about this, about the pitch as soon as you connect, and the people trying to sell you as soon as they connect. And somebody says, "Oh, that's a sales funnel." My sales funnel is once you connect, I pitch you. And I got to challenge that, because that's, to me, like a sales shotgun, not a sales funnel. So for people to understand you, that's not what you mean. You don't mean as soon as you meet somebody, "Hey, go to this community, we're going to sell you something."
No, absolutely not. Because here for me, you know what? I don't even really think of things as a sales pitch. I don't think of things as sales pitch. Because here for me, I think that when you actually meet someone, it's about how to be clear, concise, and memorable with them. It's not about, listen, let me just I can throw all my stuff onto you. But one of the things that we have to do, to me, when we're actually meeting virtual in person, is have a 30-word or less pitch just about you. Not about your business, but about you. How can you explain yourself in 30 words or less to someone? Because you really don't have that much time anyway to be meeting people. When you meet somebody, they don't want to hear that long, drawn-out thing. That thing needs to be shorter than a 60-minute elevator pitch. Because right now, you're trying to make whatever you say in that time to be memorable, so you guys can now start having a conversation, and for you to start listening to the triggers in the conversation to keep it going. So I mean, I kind of call that two types of networkers. You have your master networker, and then you have your what I call your bouncer networker.
Your bouncer networker, I like that. What's the bouncer networker?
Well, the bouncer network is short term and has no investment in it. You know, they're just bouncing and collecting business cards and not really trying to make a connection. You know, they want that immediate gratification. That's what I call them.
Yeah, see, I used to have an issue with that. Nobody teaches networking, so I would just think, oh, you're supposed to go get a bunch of cards and see who fits. But I noticed as I got better at doing it, it was like I'd have like one or two cards, and I'd leave the meeting like, hey, let's have a call next week, or hey, this sounds good, let's talk, and it would have something afterwards. So that's a big piece I think you mentioned, was going to another community. You're leaving whatever you met on and going somewhere else. So is that part of the skill most people miss, is they don't make a next step, they just kind of talk and not actually make the next step?
You know, I think they don't master the skill. I don't think they put the investment in it to have a long-term relationship when they're building networking. I mean, you really have to let that thing sit and marinate. I mean, you cannot really, try to, get all this stuff in one setting, because it's not going to happen. I mean, we all know that it takes about 7 or 8 touches for somebody even to do business with you. But more importantly, I mean, you may not even want to do business with that person, because I tell people all the time, when you network, you're networking for the next person. You're not really networking for yourself.
That's what I think people miss with LinkedIn. Yeah, people miss that. I think I talk to my agents and everything, that different agents on my team, that you might not be selling your person on LinkedIn, but somebody they know, they'll say, oh, I need somebody to make a community for me. I need insurance. Somebody, like, they'll tell through their inner fold. And for Women's History Month, I think it's important, because we are closing Women's History Month soon. Women usually in the past have done well together, but I think Black women kind of siloed for a long time. So I'm glad you're making communities, because it was kind of like we were like, you got yours, I got mine, the two shall never meet. So what are you seeing specifically for Black women? Are you seeing an uptick in more women wanting to work together, or is it kind of the status quo right now?
No, I think I'm seeing more women, and I can say for myself too, because I have done I have a lot of joint ventures with a lot of, of Black women. We are really kind of understanding. A lot of us are now. There's still some out there that's still thinking competition, but a lot of us are still coming together with collaboration, and we're trying to build these things together. In some similarity. Like you get it's exchange of audience basically, but we are working together, and that is the key, is to work together, because there's enough business. I mean, look how many people are in the world. Everybody, listen, there's enough for everybody. But I see a lot of that happening. I see a lot of us coming together, collaborating. I'm on a lot of different shows with a lot of other different powerful, amazing women that say, hey, come onto my platform, share what you got. Let's, and vice versa.
Yeah, I'm glad that's happening. And I even noticed that more. I mean, I'm in Atlanta area, and Atlanta was very much not that for a while. But I think COVID kind of pushed it more. People are like, well, I'm stuck in the house. I got to find someone to, do something with. And, there, like you said, there's enough business out there, and I think it's cross-pollinating networks is important. When people are thinking about networking, you never know who somebody else knows. So LinkedIn is probably the place where I think salespeople get it wrong all the time. It's just, oh, I see it's a CEO. Like when I posted about the connecting and pitching, somebody pitched somebody in the comments as I'm saying, don't do this. He pitches, it's the CEO. Somebody says CEO in their title, and he's like, check out my website. And da. Like, really? You're really gonna try to sell him in the comments? Like, did you see what this is about? It's not about selling anything. So when you are building these communities and you're building the sales funnel, I know it doesn't feel that way, but do you kind of teach people to make it in like a conversational kind of thing versus this is a sales funnel kind of model? Yeah,
I do. So as I'm building these communities and ladies come in, I encourage them to, connect with at least 10 ladies in the community. But here's the cool thing about, I think, where we come into the collaboration is that go ahead and post your stuff on there. Go ahead. You don't have to pitch, because I'm going to allow you to put it in there. There's not a certain time limit or anything, but put your information in there. Because I have ladies, there's thousands of ladies in these communities. And I don't know what their needs are, but if you have a product service that you want to show or tell to the ladies, then go ahead and put it in there. That's collaboration. That's saying, listen, I don't care what you have. We could be in the same industry or not. But go ahead and put it in there, because we all have different issues, even though we're in the same industry. So I think that's really where all the collaboration comes into hand.
And speaking of collaboration, we had the comment coming here from Don in the West Coast. The LinkedIn, Don, I'm sorry, LinkedIn was hating on me today for some reason. So we're on YouTube only and posting about the LinkedIn, but thanks for joining us, Queen. And Donna's in the West Coast. I'm in Georgia. She's in California. And we're working on collaborating on some things. So that's the thing I like about COVID is that I would have never probably talked to somebody in a different state prior to this on a collaboration levels. I can write life insurance and things like that in different states, but it still wasn't like a let me expand this thing a whole lot. It's pretty much Georgia. But now I talk to people in Cali, New Hampshire, Texas, and stuff all the time because we're in this space that we need to worry about this. So a soft skill, I want to make sure people leave this with a networking skill. What's a soft skill in networking that you see is always like, this is the one thing people mess up consistently?
Follow up.
Ooh, I had a feeling you was going to say that.
Well, audience, this is where the money is. You're losing so much money in this area. I still, I'm trying to understand it that we all spend our time. No, people say, how do I effectively maximize my networking? How do I effectively do it? So you go and you spend time at the networking events, talking to people in person or virtually, but then you don't have a networking strategy of following up. So yeah, the customer may not want to do business with you right then and there because it does take some time. Like I said, you got to marinate that thing. You got to let it, get there. But then eventually they're going to come around and be your customer. But if you ain't, had your stuff consistent, you ain't been visible. I mean, a lot of those different things make a real issue when you're trying to go back to that customer and that customer ain't seen you, talk to you or anything. Guess what? They didn't do business with somebody else. Yeah,
it's funny when you mention that because that's the same issue with salespeople. As I think about, I built my business on cold calling, and cold calling, you will have some wins that happen on the first call, but generally that doesn't happen. And we always say the fortune's in the follow up, and people think it's cliche, but cliche things usually have some truth to them. So for networking, what's the longest you've seen it take for somebody that you met to become something for revenue for your business? What's the longest time frame you've seen?
I'm gonna say, you know what? I've been able to close it sometimes on the first thing, on the first approach or the second. But here's the thing I want to say too, along with one things that are missing. Once you get the follow up, you still didn't quite complete it because you didn't ask for the sale. A lot of times that's missing. They'll come back, hey, how you doing? Da 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 da. Things have happened in people's lives, and if we've been paying attention to them in the social media in the world, I mean, the sale is there because the social media tells us everything what we need to know and how to produce and bring out new products and services. But as we're following up, we have to remember to ask for the sale.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something I think, well, I'm going to be mad at LinkedIn for a second. The messaging system in LinkedIn, it makes it kind of challenging sometimes because I'm a little weird. I send like video messages to people to say hi and stuff or audio messages. So it's kind of sometimes tricky for the follow up in the LinkedIn Messenger system versus like email. So do you find yourself helping people kind of develop systems to work through the follow up for this?
I do, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned it because we're now, especially I have a membership program, and right now we're working on video, really clarifying and our message through video and asking for the sale in the video. Because what I found is that 50% of people are more likely to watch that video than they are for the content. I hear a lot of ladies talk about, oh my God, I don't know what to say or how to say it. So if you're not writing the content, come in with some images, some clear, crisp images. But if that's not working, videos is it. Videos is the way to go. And we just have to make sure that our message is clear, concise, and that they know what we're actually offering, what we're selling. And that's another thing that is being missed in the videos.
Yeah, that the interesting comment Donna put on there. She said, tell it, Queen Tandra, it's a process. Like dating that special someone. It's not a one-night stand with someone you don't wish to invest in. And a good thing... Yeah, I usually mention to people is like sales is like dating. Like it's going to take, multiple attempts. It's not just a one-time thing. But when you think about what you just mentioned with the video and the creating content, I'm at a place where I'm thinking people should be more influencer in the messages than in their content. A lot of us chase the dopamine for the 5,000 views and all that. But the real thing, if you can be influencer in somebody's messages, that's more impacting. I have made zero money off of an actual post. It's usually in a message. Somebody will say, hey, I want to talk about life insurance. Hey, I want to talk about this. So would you say you agree on that the messages is the magic versus the content?
Oh, yes. And I don't know, like it's kind of crazy because I always go back to this video and the ladies in my group is like, what are you talking about? If you ever see that video where the money resides, I watched that video. And if you see what he did in that video, how he said the message, closed the message, and got the deal in the message. That's powerful. That's powerful. That's what we're looking for. And he was out of the box. He did something that was out of the box to grab somebody's attention. So yes.
Yeah, so everybody watching this, I mean, content creation is cool, and I do, it's part of the sales funnel, but the real thing you got to think about is when you get someone's attention. Networking is all about someone's attention. If they give you attention and it's something positive that you could work with, fine, but you got to be able to kind of discern that quickly and be impactful, like you said, be memorable. So what are some things, I know you're the networking ninja, so you got a memorable name. Does everybody that works with you get a cool name, or that's kind of depending on their personality?
No, I think everybody should have an attention grabber. I mean, like Precious Williams has the best one. I'm telling you, when I very first met her, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if you know who she is, but I was like, what? You know, it was something that really attracted our attention. And I would just say this too, like I did another event the other day, and I said, stop prostituting your purpose. And the ladies looked at me. I mean, okay, now it's something behind that, but
right.
It's the names that came out, and they were like, okay, you got my attention, because you know what, I might have been sitting here on my phone or doing some other stuff, but when you said that,
yeah, you're like, what?
Like, what was saying?
That's like Sarah Jackson. She's a friend of mine. She's in Maryland, and she's the Mad of Money. Then she talks about financial fornication, and that always catches. That's where you got my attention already saying stuff like that because it's different. So I definitely agree, and I'll give my wife credit for me with the bow tie. I was totally her. Like I didn't even think about doing it. She's like, "Oh, you should wear bow ties," and that became my brand on accident. So I agree, everybody should have something, but it's probably people that force it that doesn't seem natural. So do they have like a persona? You kind of teach people to have a persona versus your natural self, or you just kind of say, if this is who you are, we're going to try to mold this the best we can?
Well, I kind of want to mold it the best we can, because I want people to be transparent, because what happens is that when a person gets you or they become your client, you want to be that person throughout the process. Like nothing's changing here.
Right.
Not that I'm going to talk crazy all the time, but I want them to be their transparent self. Because, I mean, that's what's going to keep and make their customers longer. I mean, that's their uniqueness about them. So, yes. Mm-hmm.
So, be an experience for people. Be a good, not a bad experience, be a good experience. And another thing I mentioned was videos are great with caption. Depending on the way people wish to receive their comment, they'll watch the video the way they want. Visual learners versus audio, I want both. That's a good point where you're making your content and then follow up with that. So, you're heavy on LinkedIn. Do you use other platforms as well to kind of help your networking?
I do. I use pretty much all the social media platforms. I use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I do Clubhouse as well, and I've been making some pretty good impact. And that's another way how where networking is changing the space of where we traditionally used to network. But yes, I do. I love LinkedIn because I feel like the conversation starts right at the profile. Like I can generate a lot of leads just off my profile before I even.
See, that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing I think is unique about LinkedIn. It's the only platform that lets you see who viewed your page, your profile, whatever you're going to call it. And I think it's a missed opportunity for a lot of people in networking. Like secret sauce for me, when people view my profile, I'll say something. I'll actually send them a connection request, or if they're already connected, say, hey, how do you end up on my page? What's going on? And people are like, whoa, nobody does that. I'm like, well, do the stuff people complain about, you'll make more money. That's kind of something I heard a long time ago. What you do, people complain about, you'll make more money. And even when I connect with them, I'll say, hey, you probably tapped my page on accident, but now we're here. Let's connect and see why you came here. And being memorable. So I'm very cheeky with the way I approach people, because I want to make you feel something. When you go to my page, when you talk to some content, I want you to feel something and say, okay, now I want to talk to you. Because I think this know, like, and trust thing is not going away. Mm-hmm. But know and like comes from the content. I think trust comes from the messages personally.
Yes. Absolutely. No, I agree. And and a lot of people I talk to, a lot of my clients, when we first kind of got started, I mean, one of the things is I want to make sure that you get on LinkedIn. Everybody's audience is on LinkedIn. It is. You just got to make sure that, use the filters and all that stuff. But they would get on there and I'll be looking like, you don't have a banner. Like, I don't know what you do. They'll have all this other stuff, but none of that relates back to any of this stuff up here. So, it's important. Everything has to, coincide. I mean, that needs to read from the banner all the way down to the skills that, people are endorsing you on. And a lot of people don't see that. And I think that's what's one way that they don't really like to deal with LinkedIn because of that.
Well, I want to ask you something. When you mentioned this, the visual side of LinkedIn is what I like, that you can kind of check somebody and make sure who they are. Talk about Clubhouse for a minute, because Clubhouse is obviously the shiny object right now. Friend of mine, Sherry Jones, she's a social media consultant, and she released on her show like a week or two ago that people spend about 12 hours a week on Clubhouse. Now, I can't commit that time. I hear people say, oh, you get seen so much and you can lead people back to your LinkedIn and all that. For someone that's using it and that's on several platforms, how do you see this one fitting into the wheelhouse? Do you see it sticking around, or do you see somebody swooping it up as a feature?
Both. Well, no, I see it sticking around. I do. I see it sticking around. Maybe not this particular Clubhouse, but something along the lines of that. I think people are going to start catching on, and they're going to start developing different apps to do that. But it really is a unique way of really, again, expanding your base, getting into different markets that you wouldn't even think of. I mean, I do a lot of searching on there for the for all lady events and networking events. But I mean, there's some pretty strong heavy hitters on there that, a lot, I follow like Cardone, Gary Vee and all of them. They are on there in some way or form, and they're bringing their audience. Now, here's the key thing is, if you're following them, what happens after that? It's that tool that you can really, if you do the right thing and you network the right way in there, it can bring you thousands of dollars. It really
This
can.
is why, good comment here we had. There are 722 million people on LinkedIn, the biggest business directory in the world. And this is what I heard. Yeah, and it's free. Yeah, definitely. And I heard you mention some things that you sound very intentional with your network. And you say, I search this, I look up this. So you sound very intentional with it. So for someone that's in business development phase, or saying, I want to grow my business, I want to get some more sales, how much do you say you should spend time on networking? If you had to look at a 40-hour week or some percentage, whatever way you think of it, how much should they allocate towards networking versus direct outreach to a lead list?
I say for you to do networking, I would say approximately, 10 hours a week, 2 hours roughly, depending on what you're doing, but a minimum of at least 2 hours. Because for me, when I bring on a new client, that's one of the first things I want to know: what your 3 top activities are for the day, what 3 networking events you are attending, what 3 influencers you're following, because all of that kind of goes in line. Because I think, here's the thing about it is, we're getting involved in all these groups. Everybody's saying, hey, join my group, join my group, join my group. But we have to do some take away from that, because if those groups are not really where your audience is hanging out in, one, you shouldn't do it. But if you are on those groups, then guess what? Be active in a group. That's where the communication starts. You can't just join a group and then expect to post something in there, whatever you're posting, and then expecting to get some reaction when you've never had a conversation with anybody inside that group.
Yeah, I see that a lot. And then let's break that down further for people that are in business growth mode. You say 2 hours a day. I feel like some people take that as, I'm going to research for 2 hours on LinkedIn and see who's doing what, or I'm going to spend an hour making a piece of content. So when you say that 2 hours, what is that 2 hours actually comprised of? Is it direct messaging? Is it commenting? What do you say that is?
That message is 333, my 333 rule. You're going to go in there and like 3 people. You're going to comment on 3 people, and you're going to share 3 people's posts. Okay. That's the beginning of the conversation. So it's not like surfing on there. It's like, and this is what I do. I say, when you open up in the morning and whatever part of the day you time blocked for that, go in there and see the first 5 people who has actually made a comment, especially on some Facebook groups, Instagram and all that, and hit them 3 times, hit them 3 on 3. Then when you're going into LinkedIn, guess what? People has already pretty much responded to you through your profile. They have a little block on the left-hand side. You know what I'm saying? You should go through there, and depending on the time of the day too, and that matters too when you make a post on LinkedIn. I mean, like, there's a certain time frame that you need to be posting, to get some response. But right there, your ending of the day. I would say for me, I spend the majority of my time on LinkedIn because I get a lot of response from LinkedIn. And then on the the other half of the day or whatever, I'm either at a networking event or I'm doing my 333 rule. That works on anything.
Perfect. I love that. And then it's a system you have. It's a process. And I think it's important for LinkedIn especially. It's easy to get lost in all these great titles and everybody looks so great. But if you're not following up and being intentional, like for me, my happiest or most time probably is on people with job changes, people that viewed my profile, and people that had birthdays. Because like you mentioned, starting a conversation. I dread, and I'm saying this preemptively. When my birthday comes around, I'm gonna get a bunch of those generic just happy birthday messages where they just push the button. I dread that because I try to reply to all of them. So I literally have hundreds of them, and I'm like, gosh, well, somebody, like, when I see a real one, like a video, like, I'll send a video or audio note so it stands out as different. And they're like, thank you. Nobody even said happy birthday to me in my household. Appreciate that, and that makes them feel something. So I'd say that's another part to add to the mix is think about LinkedIn feeds you leads technically. If you think about all these interactions, it's the only network that does that. I mean, I know Facebook does the birthday thing, but when you think about the fact that when they get that message, they don't get video messages a lot on LinkedIn. They don't get audio messages. So as soon as they get one from you, they're like, man, Tandra's different. She sent me an audio note. Nobody does that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feeds you all day long. I mean, if you're using your strategy right, I mean, it could be good for you. I mean, like I know a lot of people can use MiniBot, and that can help you too as far as responding back to people.
Yeah, I like I'm aware to do it all manual, but I think that if you can find something that can automate and keep your tone, fine. But if it's not going to keep your tone, I can kind of sniff out somebody with the automatic thing by this point now when the response kind of seems generic. It feels a certain way. So I would recommend be a little bit more manual if you're not making the sales right now. When you start getting kind of massive, then you probably got to scale out and use something to automate it. But when you're talking 5,000 connections, 10,000 connections, you could probably scale that yourself and make it really work. So, Tandra, I want to be respectful of your time and make sure people get something to walk away from this. So if you had to say, we talked about follow-up was one big thing, but what's something else that really supercharge people's networking to make them not a ninja, but maybe a cat burglar or a samurai? What's something else they can do?
You know what? I mean, here again, I'm just going to say this. I mean, put a system, you have your networking, but build your system around the networking. I'm saying if you go into a networking event, personal or, virtual, know what the end result is. Do your research. Please do your research. Know who the people are hosting the panel. I mean, who's hosting the event, who's on the panel. Look them up because that's going to tell you if your audience is even a part of them. You're going to be able to find their influence. And please walk away with at least 3 or 4 connections. Have your follow-up process already in place. Have a quick message that you say, hey, I met you at such and such event. Let's connect. Let's do a coffee chat. Please don't let that go by. And make sure you have your CRM systems together. That's huge.
Ooh, that'll be the CRM conversation. Now, I think about some of the agents on my team. They can't stand CRM, and I'm a sales guy, so I would just go. But the CRM is your assistant that never forgets. So as I've gotten older in business, I'm like, I got to put stuff in the system because I'll forget. Because I tell my people that I work with, don't tell me, email me, because I'll forget. I have too many things coming at me to remember. So when they're like, can you do this? Don't even tell me. I promise you I'll forget it. Just email me so I have a documentation of it. And my wife will say the same thing. If it's not written down sometimes, I'm like, you said that? And it's not that you don't care. It's just when there's so much information coming at you constantly, it makes it hard to remember that. And Marcello jumped in here saying, what's good? Thanks, Cello. LinkedIn wasn't liking me today, so we're straight up on YouTube today. She said, great point, Tandra, though, to say great point for you.
Yeah.
Actually, real quick, let's break that down. See, now, do you have a CRM you prefer? Because there's so many out there, so I love to hear this from different people, because there's always their own reason why they like it. But which one do you prefer?
I prefer GetResponse. I love GetResponse, and I'm gonna tell you why I love that, because it has everything in there for me. I can do my Facebook ads, my Google ads, my mini chats in there. I can do my landing pages. My automations in there. Everything I need is in there. So I love it.
GetResponse
There
people.
are some. You can build your business on a budget as well. You can build your business on a budget. You can do a MailChimp, you can do MailerLite, you can do Flowdesk. You can do some other different ones, whatever kind of suits you. But I wanted kind of that one-stop shop.
Yeah, I know when I was first using that, I think I used PipeDrive for a while because they give you a free version of PipeDrive at first. But Salesforce, Donna said, I like Salesforce to a degree. A little pricier, but Salesforce is a good one. And Marcello said he has the same problem on LinkedIn, so he got booted out of LinkedIn today too. I guess he does a lot of live shows as well. So Cello, I don't know what it is. They don't like how many lives we're doing, but either way, if you got to use a spreadsheet for a CRM, have something.
You gotta have something.
Have something, because the thing I worry about is when you go back to them and they're like, "Oh, I did something with somebody else because you didn't follow up with me," so you don't end up opening the door for somebody else. And Marcello says, I pay for Close. Okay, Close. I like Close. Have you seen that one before?
No, I have never heard of that one. Okay, well,
Close
now I'm
is an
gonna write
app
it down.
primarily, but it'll like tell you like you haven't talked to Bill in 3 weeks. You should call him. Like it'll do automatic
Oh,
stuff for you. So it's pretty cool CRM that I think you get about. Cello could probably let me know better. I think you get about 25 or 50 free interactions or something like that. But it'll tell you things like you emailed him a week ago, it didn't say anything, or you called him and didn't say anything else.
oh,
So
I love
it,
that. I'm gonna check that out. Thank you so much.
yeah. Thanks, Cello, for reminding me about that one. That's a good one. Sorry, so people make sure, Tandra, I want you to plug where you are. You got the show is yours, so let people know how to follow more information from you.
So yes, so I do a LinkedIn Live every Tuesday. It's called Talk to Me Tuesday. I do it at 12 p.m. Central Time, and I share helpful networking tips to help grow your business. I would love for someone to, some of your audience is coming on, if they would love to share that platform. If you don't have a LinkedIn Live, listen, I'm that's about that collaboration. I share it with you. Come on aboard. And then also you can connect with me at on off social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's at Tandra Price. And then I'm going to give away my free 15 ways to start a conversation, and I'll put this in the chat for you as well.
Do my YouTube move right there below on the screen. That's my YouTube move. I know everybody does mash the button down below. That's my YouTube move.
Some simple steps, but you know what, they really work. I know, and I really created that because when I first started out, teaching ladies how to go out and have conversations, they were like, "What do I say? What do I say?" Listen, compliment starts always the best way.
I hear my wife in the back of my mind with this because she gets like free stuff at the restaurants and drive-through sometimes with discounts, and I'm just kind of like, "Hello, I like to order this," and then she'll be like, "Your hair looks so nice.
Yes,
You had this
yes.
nice jacket on." Then she'll get like extra food for free. I'm like, that never worked for me. So I can attest in real life this stuff works because she's the queen of getting free stuff, and I never get it. I could do it in business too, to like mention your page or something, but I suck at it with ordering food and stuff. So people take a look at Tandra's the 15 ways to start a conversation, and that's the key thing I think, especially with LinkedIn. Don't just say, "Hey, I'd love to hop on a discovery call," or "Hey, here's my Calendly. Let's schedule some time to talk." Like, have something with some meat
Like,
to
who
it, or
are
that makes
you?
them laugh. Right, because I used to do that very, very early on, thinking like, well, that's what it's for. It's a business platform. But you do have to kind of say, hey, we went to the same college, or, I noticed you like the Falcons and they never win the Super Bowl, or whatever you want to put in there, something to have fun with it. And we actually he said, yes, freebie. He said, let's connect on LinkedIn. So he said, yes, freebie.
Yes, yes. I totally understand. Listen, it is so important that we have a conversation. You have to have a conversation. Do not do that sales pitch. Do not
Yes.
do it.
And I gotta make sure I get this. Donna said, beautiful, how I honor my wife. Thank you, Donna, for saying that. She's the reason I am the bow tie superhero. I did not wear bow ties before she told me to do so. Not told me, but she recommended. I'll say that. Well, thank you, folks. Tandra's been fun. Folks, make sure you get that starter kit, and then also go to her. You're on LinkedIn. Where else so they know where to go?
Facebook and Instagram.
So the LITI and IG, all the different acronyms. We will catch you guys next time on Business of Benefits. Hopefully, they're not hating on us anymore on LinkedIn and letting us actually go live on LinkedIn directly. We will catch you guys next time, and please be safe. This thing's not over yet, so please be safe. Network online so you feel comfortable.
Absolutely.